Alrighty guys, today we are working on the Indy Sport 340. We're gonna motor swap this machine today. Found a motor out in the cow yard in all the part sleds. There was actually a 340 fan cooled stabbed in a Indy 400 chassis. Ended up compression testing it, and it had 130 per cylinder. So honestly, we're gonna take a chance, roll the dice. We're gonna swap this motor in the chassis today. Kind of show you the ins and outs of how to get one of these out of there. It's pretty straightforward on a fan cooled. There's not coolant hoses or anything like that, so it's pretty easy. If we play our cards right, it shouldn't take us more than an hour. We'll get started here shortly. Start by removing the pipe, unplugging our electrical and getting the carbs off, and then we can start loosening up the motor plate. Looks like the motor plate is the same on this 340 Indy motor, so that's good. We shouldn't have to unbolt that or nothing. And then it has the recoil and everything on it. I didn't check the condition of the rope, but I will before we put it in, because we can always put a rope in it quick if needed when the motor is out. Looks like oil injection is deleted. Not sure. Oh, this one's also deleted, so this would be a perfect swap. I mean, it was just meant to be. I mean, no oil bottle, perfect. So we just gotta make sure it's blocked off properly, of course, pre-mix the fuel with some oil, and we should be good. So that's what we're gonna do in this video, get that motor swapped in. We also gotta find a clutch guard in the pile of parts in the back. And that should do it for the motor swap, and we hope this thing runs. The reason we're swapping the motor is this engine has like 80 pounds of compression, super high mileage. We made a video on it last year. It barely ran. You gotta like feather the throttle. Apparently, Caleb went through the carbs, did all the fuel system on it, so take his word for it there. We'll check the condition of this motor as we get it out and see if we can find any evidence of why it was running the way it was. We'll get this here bolt out for the pipe. So this has got a through bolt and some various washers there. Might be factory, might not be. So that'll be out of there. Your resistor that's just hanging out here. Probably not ideal. I'm just gotta get those exhaust springs off. Yeah, mangled it a little bit, but go. We got the carburetors removed, the oil pump cable is off. Granted, this one was deleted, but we had to get it off so we can get that motor out. I'm gonna cut the recoil rope and tie a knot in it so we get the handle out. Disconnect the electrical harness for the CDI unit, and then we can work on disconnecting the motor plate bolts, and then we can lift that motor out of there. All right, so we got all three of the motor mount plate bolts out. Now we should be able to lift this thing out of here. And these aren't too heavy, so they should just lift right out. And then we just gotta take the clutch off. Now's a good time. I can take the shop vac, vacuum out all the crap underneath the motor, make sure the fuel lines, and replace this pulse line with potentially a piece of actual braided line, or at least put zip ties on here because they're very loose fitting. Looks like a couple of these hoses could use some zip ties. So when the fuel pump is not mounted in its original location, it looks like it's only got one bolt holding it in. But anyways, I'm gonna get that all vacuumed out, and then we'll get the new motor prepped and ready to put in and get the clutch off of this one. and I'll kind of update you as we go. Got the new engine ready to go back in. We're gonna leave the oil lines like they were. They are still soft and it is blocked off, so I'm not really too worried about air leaks there. I did replace the pulse line. You can see it hanging there. I'm using the clear tubing. Usually I'd like to use the braided black fuel line for that. Didn't have any on hand, so this will work for this scenario, I guess. And I did replace the 2 fuel lines coming out of the fuel pump. All the fuel lines were cracked, especially the pulse line they had was all cracked. I'm in very loose fitting on there, so gotta go ahead and take care of that while it's out. Recoil rope looks good. Clutch is on tight. We greased the grease fitting on the steering shaft before we put the motor in. Now we're gonna go ahead and set that motor down in there and hook it up. Motor plate and motor put back in. The bolts are still a little bit loose, so we can kind of move things around. Checking the kind of the trueness of the engine in there. I guess you'd call it parallelism is what they call it in most manuals. So what I usually use is this is actually it's a clutch holder tool, but it's nice and straight. And I put that on the back side of the primary, and I hold it against the sheave, and I measure the distance from the inner sheave edge to the tool on the front and the back, and I make sure that it's pretty close to even, or you'd want the front measurement a little bit larger than the rear. If it's cocked forward a little bit, that's okay, because when you give her gas, it's going to twist the motor back anyways, and that'll straighten it up. So you always either perfectly straight or a little bit pushed forward in the front. You want this a little bit larger measurement, maybe like a 1/16 of an inch or less. 3/4 of an inch. Just pick this up a little bit. And about a little less than 3/4, so that ain't bad. Maybe twist it a little bit. Because there's 3/4. And there it's just a fuzz less than 3/4, which is okay. I think we'll probably leave it. I'll recheck it. See what we got for measurement now. I'll just lock this in. There. We got 3/4 still. And just a fuzz on the 3/4. That's pretty good. I'd say we're good. Snug up a little bit in the back. Big connector here, the pins all look like they're there. I'm going to turn it this direction. They only go in one way. Brown to brown. And then the black will hook onto the CDI module. We just got to hook that on quick. Hopefully this motor runs. Yeah, compression. about as tight as she's gonna get. I didn't look at the condition of these spark plugs, so I'll look at them before we hook the wires on. I'm gonna hook this plug up, which is gonna hook in to this one. I don't remember which way it likes to, I think it's gotta get hooked in down here. All right guys, the motor's in. I was just gonna see if it roped over. Oh yeah. See if that spark. Oh yeah. Nice and blue, guys. Nice and blue. Let's make sure the kill switch works. Yep. Oh yeah. She's got spark. Carburetors are all in. Fuel lines are hooked on. Carburetors are tight. I gotta put some fuel in this thing and obviously pre-mix it a little bit with some oil and then slap the belt on yet. I'll pressurize the gas tank a little bit, get some fuel up to the carbs, but I'll do that and then I'll put the camera back on when we want to start this thing back up. Mixed it about 32-1, maybe just a little bit less, maybe closer to like 38-1. We're gonna pressurize the fuel tank, see if fuel comes out of the pickup into the fuel lines that are clear, so we should be able to see it. I gotta shake it up a little bit first, so Dan will hold the hood steady while I shake it. We got the belt on. The belt is hourglass. It's not great. I definitely will be changing that and definitely getting a clutch guard. We'll see if this thing runs. Otherwise, we're gonna have to pull those carburetors apart, and maybe Caleb didn't clean them as good as he thought he did. So we'll see if this thing bogs like hell, like it did last time. I think the chokes work on it, so that's good. So I'm gonna shake it first. That gets you a little mixed up that way. And the steering is still nice and stiff on this thing. Alrighty guys, got the motor swap complete, adjusted the idles a little bit. The thing starts so much better with that other motor in it now. Idles better, just a little bit stronger. Still bogging on me when I'm driving it. I believe we got a fuel related issue in the carburetors. That's the only thing that hasn't been really 100% verified that they're clean. There could be restriction there, or we have a clutch issue where the clutches are bogging the motor down and they're binding. I can't make it better by choking it when I'm driving and the bog's happening. Tells me that the problem could be elsewhere, such as clutches, but I haven't 100% verified that the carbs are spotless, so there is potential that it could be bogging because of that. So fuel lines are all done, the pickup line in the tank is in there. So we got some progress made. Steering is a little bit better. It's definitely seized. The spindles are definitely rusted in the front. You'll be able to hear it. Start up there. Runs pretty good. A lot nicer idle now. A little choppier. Definitely runs a lot stronger, but the bogging will take care of, you know, like I said, it's either clutches or it's a fuel bog. So we'll sort that out later on during the season if we keep this thing. Kind of just wanted to make it run better and have a healthy engine in it. So at least if we did sell it, the next guy's not getting a really clapped out 80 PSI compression engine. So at least this motor swap was successful for now. Everything went in good. Everything's functioning. Hand warmers are working. Lighting system's working. So this thing's got like 11,000 miles on it. So it's been through the ringer a couple times. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the motor swap. More sled videos are coming all season long. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. We'll see you in the next one.